Hello there, MotoAmerica fans. This is Paul Carruthers. I'm the communications manager for MotoAmerica, and this is our weekly podcast, Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. As I mentioned a few seconds ago, I'm Carruthers. I've also got Bice on the line from Ohio, and our special guest today is PJ Jacobsen. We'll talk to PJ here in a few minutes, but I'll get started with Sean is what is our regular practice. Sometimes he has a good story. Sometimes his stories are shit, but we let him talk anyway. So how are you today, Sean?
I'm good. A lot of times with our stories, we can't help but talk about the weather because being in Ohio, the climate's a little different than the climate in Southern California where you are. And I'm always fascinated by the fact that we're all under one nation, even though you're quite a ways away and you can have this many different climates. But the interesting thing about our guest PJ is, he's from New York State, and it's one of the reasons I like him a lot because I'm originally from that state as well. And my love of motorcycles kind of began with my love of snowmobiles in the winter and doing a lot of that and skating and playing hockey and stuff. But I never did do any ice racing. I kept my motorcycle riding for the summer, the 2 weeks of a nice summer where I grew up in the frozen tundra. But PJ is pretty cool about things in New York State. And I don't mean that, I mean that in a literal sense. He also does a lot of ice racing. His buddy's got, I think, a pond down the road from him. And I always like to see some of those videos. So when we were setting up this podcast, I said, ask him about ice racing. Well, come to find out, he's nowhere near anywhere that he can be ice racing. So, why don't you introduce him, Paul, and then we can ask him about what he's doing and where he is right now.
Yeah, and you know what I find funny? Those people that give a shit for talking about the weather? The first thing those people do when they talk to somebody is ask them about the weather. So you know what? It's like, whatever. We're just normal guys here talking the shit, and weather's something that comes up, especially when it's 80 here and whatever it is there. So
30 and raining today. Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's like that old joke. Everybody wants to be a weatherman in Southern California because you don't have to do anything. Well, it's kind of true in a way. So it's either beautiful or it pisses down rain and everything floods for a couple of days and then it's beautiful again. So it's kind of how it rolls. But we still need to talk about the weather because it's obviously an important part of our lives, right, Sean?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, so PJ Jacobsen, talk about a season of I don't even know how to say it, but anyway, I'll tell you about it, and you can come up with your own description. But this guy shows up at the first round of Stock 1000 at Road America 1, which was our first Road America race, the one with no fans. It was actually the opening round of our championship, even though it wasn't scheduled to be that way, but COVID-19 kind of changed things around. So he showed up at round 1 and smoked everybody and won the Stock 1000 race. Everything's rosy, everything's great. We go back to Road America for round 2, and he's in, I believe it was morning warm-up. The bike, the Ducati, catches on fire. He has to crash the thing because of, what else was he going to do? He's riding around on a fireball. So he crashes the bike. He suffers some burns. I'm not even sure what other injuries. I know the burns were the major injuries. And we saw him, I think he showed up at Road Atlanta maybe, which was the following round, and tried to ride.
Yeah,
and
right.
That didn't work. And then he just kind of parked it for the year. And we didn't really see him after that. And he made a couple of appearances, I believe, just to walk around and talk to the fans and hang out. But we never saw him back on a motorcycle for the rest of the year. And here we are in 2021. And, both you and I are like, hey, what the hell's PJ doing? We need to talk to PJ. So let's do that. And PJ, welcome to the podcast. It's nice to have you on for a second time. I think the first time was, I don't even know. It had to have been early in the going on the show. But how are you, first of all? And welcome to the show. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been a while, I think, that I've been on your guys' podcast. So I really appreciate you guys, reaching out to me and getting me on the podcast. But yeah, I've been doing good. I'm pretty much healed up right now. It's taken a while since my injury last season, but yeah, I'm pretty much like all healed up, and I'm down in Florida now to to kind of start like a new adventure for myself. So I'm down here for a little while to get out of the, cold New York weather that I was facing there the past couple of months. But yeah, just down in Florida, and I'm doing pretty good.
Let's get the crappy part over with. Tell us about the crash itself.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit about the injuries that you suffered and why it took so long for you to get, not back on your feet, but back to the point where you can race a motorcycle again.
Yeah, so I mean, that crash was probably the worst injury of my career. I mean, I've been racing professional motorcycles since I've been 16. So that was definitely the worst one of my career. But yeah, Road America, everything was going good. I think we won every single race up until morning warm-up on Sunday. We won the Superbike Stock 1000 Superbike Cup race on Saturday. And then going into Sunday morning warm-up, everything was good. We were going to try something. And then, the whole bike caught on fire halfway down the straightaway. And I really had no option because I had a guardrail on my left-hand side, and I had two riders right behind me. And then, you have the air fence in front of you. So, the whole bike was on fire, and I was getting hot, and it was getting really hot. So my only option was to jump off on the right-hand side. So I tried to pull the brake. It seemed like it made the fire worse, and I just jumped off the bike. But at that point, the whole bike was lit on fire. And then right there on the track, I was stripping my leathers off me because I was just getting burnt so badly. And especially it was on my hands, which were my minor ones. I didn't really feel the rest of them because I think the burns were so bad. When I went to the hospital, they were almost 3rd-degree burns. So, wow. and they seemed like they soaked into all my padding on my leathers. So the way my burns are on my body now is the padding of my leathers, those shapes. So it looked like it, whatever soaked in there, and just that's where I was getting burnt so bad. So I'm still kind of unclear of what happened. Never really got an answer on what actually happened. So that's kind of a mystery to me. I just know that in that situation, I did the best that I could. So I was pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, PJ. So, we've heard everything from the bike caught on fire after you crashed to the fact that we know it was on fire, and that's why you crashed. You basically bailed off the bike, and you were on fire, but did you suffer any injuries from bailing off the bike or crashing, or was it all just the burns? And I don't mean to minimize it. I mean, the burns were terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't suffer any other injuries, luckily, but I mean, I was going really fast down the straightaway. So I'd say I was in maybe 4th or 5th gear. And then, I bailed at that point. But at that point I was so hot and getting burnt that I didn't care if I broke my shoulder or what, because I just wanted to get out of the heat, because that was the worst part. But yeah, I didn't suffer any injuries except for the really, really bad burns.
Is that what did you feel it? Did you see it? How did you sense essentially that you were on fire? How did that happen?
So I think the back of the bike really must have came on fire first, or underneath the bike. And then it all came up through the handlebars. So then I was just looking at my hands as being in a huge pizza oven. And then at that point, the whole thing was on fire. I could barely see the dash or anything. So I had to jump off.
And one of the other things that happens with a fire sometimes is you can't breathe. Did you experience any issues with being able to breathe, or did you inhale any of the flames?
Yeah, that was one of my big things why I actually went to the hospital, because I couldn't breathe. So I don't know if it was from the material on the bike melting and causing all of those smoke and fumes or whatever, that went into my lungs, because I really couldn't breathe. So, and they just kept burning and burning so bad. So that's really why I went to the hospital at first, but my other burns were just so numb, so I couldn't really feel them. It was just really, I couldn't breathe. So that's what I was very, very worried about.
So you showed up after that and tried to ride, Was that just too uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, as a motorcycle racer, you try everything. You're not out until you're out. So, I tried to get my stuff, as best as I could. But I mean, I was so far off with my burn injuries on how bad they were. I mean, I knew going to Atlanta that it really wasn't going to be possible. But I mean, the thing is you just you have that mentality to just not give up, and you want to just get back on the bike and try to prove that you can get out there to try.
Yeah, and then I mean, psychologically, the crash itself must be difficult to deal with, as well as the burns. But then you come back, you try to ride, and then basically you pack it in for the year. I mean, at some point you feel like the forgotten man? I mean, you're like, how racing is. It's like you're only as good as your last race, and actually the last race you had, you won. But it seems like so long ago. Has that been difficult?
Yeah, it's been really difficult, like the whole crash and stuff really, just hurt my whole year, because I mean, the plan was to try to win the Stock 1000 championship this year and then go to Superbike the following year. And that kind of just got thrown out the window since that crash. So it's been kind of hard to just stand around the rest of the season and not be able to ride and just be kind of like the forgotten person, but it's just, it's quite difficult. And then other riders are showing their capabilities to get the other rides that you're trying to get, just because you haven't been on the bike for so long, so you're kind of forgotten about.
It was tough, PJ, because Paul had mentioned in the beginning, obviously we didn't see you racing anymore in the season, but I remember distinctly you showed up at Pittsburgh and you were a civilian, but it was heartbreaking to see you walking around there pretty gingerly. You were looking like a cowboy that had been across the range for 1,000 miles. I mean, you couldn't really walk well because of where your burns were. And I know you've showed me a couple of the burns, and it was pretty gruesome for sure. So I thought it was really cool that you showed up at that round and we got a chance to at least talk to you and, wish you well and see you again. But, I want to ask you about something that I heard. It's a crazy story related to your crash.
Oh no.
No, I'm going to throw it out there, Paul, because hey, we're nuts sometimes. Okay. Well, I am for sure. And hey, maybe I'll get in trouble. I don't know, but I'm going to do it. I had heard a story that you crashed because of the extra weight that was put on your bike. Insane, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to rule out anything. So it's honestly, giving my honest opinion, I don't know. I'm still unclear of what caused the whole thing. So I don't want to rule out anything, because it's still just a mystery to me. And I just, that whole thing, I still see it, in my head of how it was. 'Cause it just felt like, it was very, quick one, but it's also, when you play it back in your head, it's a very long one,
Yeah. And I want to follow that up because this is another thing that is a little tricky for me to ask you, but again, I'm kind of going to do it. And it's not about the ballast thing. I think we understand about that, but okay. Let me equate it to football. Okay. You have a quarterback that your starting quarterback that gets injured. And it could be an injury that puts him on injured reserve for the year. But once he's healed up, he sort of is the heir apparent again. He comes back in. So what's your status with the team you were on? And are you riding for them this year? I mean, what happened? You got hurt. That's no reason to not race for a team anymore.
Yeah, I think they're still figuring out what they got going on for 2021. I will not be in their plans. But yeah, that's the way the racing sport is, It's a very hard, cruel sport, and that's just the way it is. I've been around the whole racing scene my whole life, so I know how it works, It's you move on to the next thing. That's kind of how it is.
All right, so that leads us to now. You're down in Florida, you're getting your shit together, you're training, you're you're obviously planning on racing a motorcycle. Do you have anything concrete yet, or are you just still in that waiting game? And I mean, obviously you want to come back and race again.
Yeah, so I've got this new opportunity, and it's with Sam Lockoff. I'm going to be training him until the start of the season. I've just focused my my energy and helping him with his talent to succeed. So if I don't have anything going on for 2021, I would like to use my past. Of what I know and try to help a young kid achieve his goals. So I've come down to Florida and I'm staying with him until April. And we're going to be, we've been training already, but we're going to be training every single week for his new adventure in MotoAmerica. So, if I'm don't have anything going on with myself, I'm focusing on a young kid like himself to see what he can do with his talent.
That's really cool. We got to know Sam a little bit better this past year because we saw him on the podium a lot. But it's funny, PJ, I don't know if you've gotten this impression from Sam. Obviously, he's young, so he's still maturing. He was pretty quiet when he first came into our paddock, and sometimes he has this sort of look on his face sometimes where he seems like he's mad or something, and that's not it. I think he's just thinking a lot. Plus he kind of keeps him to himself sometimes, but he's actually a pretty funny kid, and we got him to smile a few times when he was in the press conferences. And I think as he gets older, he's probably going to be more comfortable with that whole thing. But do you get that impression from him too? Like he's a different kid in some ways. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, since the first moment that I met him and his dad and mom in France, I was racing World Superbike at the time for Triple M Honda in 2018. I met them and they're great people, and it's carried on, and he's been my teammate the past season and a half, really. Right. So it's been great getting to know Sam, and just getting to know him and stuff. I think that he's a very, very smart kid, and he puts in a lot of determination, really thinks about things a lot. He's not like a normal kid that just yeses you all the time. But Sam, asks a lot of questions and thinks a lot. So yes. I really like that in him, and I think that he can achieve some good things going forward in his career.
As far as your racing goes, whether it happens or not, are you totally committed to just Superbike or Stock 1000, or you came pretty close to winning a championship in Supersport just 2 years ago. Would you consider Supersport?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider Supersport or Superbike. It'd be great to get another shot at Supersport again to try to win the championship. It was I've had a lot of experience with 600s, being in the World Championship for like 6 years. But I think that, also too, I just came back. I didn't know all the American tracks. It's been a while since I last rode them, since like 2011, and it was 2019 when I came back. So it was a long time away from those tracks. So that's the biggest thing I kind of like struggled with when I came back from World Superbike of a bad year in 2018 to 2019. I just struggled to really, get up to speed at the tracks, with full potential. So I think that really kind of hurt me from trying to challenge Bobby Fong a bit more in the championship.
I want to talk about you being in Florida and I see you and Sam and Ashton Yates a lot, and Gus Rodeo. A lot of these guys are going to these kart tracks in Florida or wherever, where obviously the weather is better, and you ride, kind of supermoto bikes or converted, smaller displacement dirt bikes. And you've done a lot of ice racing, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that you do in the off season because of where you live. So in New York. Can you talk about the training that you get from that? Because obviously we know it's fun. We enjoy seeing those videos and post them because the fans go nuts to watch you guys do what you do, backing it into corners and everything. But talk about what it does for you and what it's doing for Sam and his development.
Yeah, I mean, like ice riding and stuff, we go out there and do that for fun. But also, when I go out and ice ride, in the past and stuff is, you go out there and train, you go out and put in a lot of laps. We do big TT courses and, we're going left and right. So it's quite similar to like a road race bike. And we're out there for quite a long time, like basically like conditioning ourselves in, 20, 25 minutes out there riding. So, what I've, obviously we're down in Florida, so Sam can't go ice riding, either can I, but, we've got a big schedule like ahead of us. We have we're going to be mountain biking like 2 or 3 times a week. We're going to be going to the go-kart tracks, doing supermoto training, race stints, at the supermoto track. We're eating correctly. We're going to be doing go-karting as well for fun, but also like physical training. So we have a lot of things in there that's going to be, keeping things going and just focusing, on a racing mentality all the time to stay in the zone of racing and making sure that we're, that Sam's fit enough and he can just keep on doing, like the races, say 30-minute races, 35-minute races. So we'll just keep training like that. And I think that's going to be the best thing for him. So it's going to be pretty good.
Now, listen, dude, this is something I got to bring up, and Paul's going to cringe because he
oh God, I'm cringing already.
Yeah. But listen, PJ, I've met your wife, and I'm going to tell you, you got a nice wife there. And what are you doing in Florida? Is she down there too? Where is she? She's got a salon, doesn't she? I mean, come on. What's going on here?
Yeah, no, she's in New York and I'm in Florida. I'm really thankful for that. I have a great wife. She lets me go and do things. Well, not lets me, but we go and I'm able to do things like this and stuff. So it's not a problem, and she takes care of everything back at home. So it's I don't know. It's pretty easy,
Hey,
that's cool.
PJ, that sound you just heard was Sean starting his car and he's starting to drive to New York.
Oh boy.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere near there. I'm happily married. He always does this to me, but no, listen, I more power to you. I've met her. She's awesome. And I've told you that before too. So it's all good. Hey, I want to talk. So you're mentoring Sam, which is so cool. You're paying it forward on that. I want to talk about somebody who, I guess I'm pretty sure I'm safe in saying he was a mentor or has been a mentor of yours for a long time. And that's another guy up in New York State, and somebody I'm fond of. With a name like Sean, you can understand why I'd be fond of Barry Gilson, and who is as Irish as any Irishman I've seen. Colin Barton's the same way, but you've had a long relationship with Barry Gilson, and I assume that had something to do with you being involved in the Celtic HSBK team last year. Can you talk about how you got started with Barry and kind of what that relationship has meant to you over the years?
Yeah, so I started on a 125 in Homestead, Miami. It was like my first race, and there was like a phone call made to Barry, who had his like own little race team kind of going, the Celtic racing team, and I got an opportunity to meet Barry and sit down with him and just tell him where I wanted to go with my career and stuff like that. I was about 11 or 12 years old, so he took me on, and I've been with Barry since I've been like 11 years old. I'm 27 now, so it's been a huge road with him, and he's helped me so much in my career. He's been all over the place with me, from BSB to the World Championship to AMA. So, I really wouldn't be where I'm at today without Barry's help. He's a great person, and he's a great person that helps other people, other riders. If he really believes in you, he believes in you. So, but it's cool. Me and Barry have a really good relationship. We're able to goof off, and it's always a good time with Barry. He was actually at the kart track yesterday with me and Sam, so he's out there with a stopwatch trying to beat us all the time.
So he's down there too. That's pretty cool. Wow, that really shows what his commitment is to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just when we show up on the go-karts and kind of kick his ass, he doesn't really like that.
Hey, so one other thing related to the thing with Sam, and are you still keeping your options open about possibly racing this year? I mean, if you get an offer or an option, would you consider it? And do you think you can still do what you're doing with Sam and race yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I think I can still do what I'm doing with Sam. And it would be great to be in the paddock with him as well. But yeah, I'm any offers that come in, I will not be, I'll really look at them. But for me, it really has to be the right thing and really the right bike and right team to go out there and win. It's I want to win races and try to win a championship. So the whole package has to be put together in the right way. So, you can say, yeah, we can go out there and do this,
Yeah. Understood.
Well, Sean, are you done with this kid?
Yeah, this has been great. Really
PJ,
excellent.
first of all, I'm happy that you're obviously feeling better and healed up and life has gotten back to normal for you. It was a tough start to that year and it ended up being a tough year for you the entire time. So you were missed in the paddock and it was nice having you, when you were racing for that 600 championship and early last year, obviously, but we hope we can see you again. It sounds like we're going to see you in the paddock no matter what, but I would definitely still like to see you back racing a motorcycle.
Yeah,
so
would I. Yeah.
So thanks for coming on with us. And Sean's going to do a little sales pitch here and then we'll say goodbye. But, again, we appreciate it. And I hope you keep us up to date on what exactly is going on and we'll see you as the season starts.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been awesome being on the podcast and hopefully I can come back on here again soon. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll get you on again when the season's going and, we'll see if you're racing or if you're working with Sam, we'll find out some more about what's going on with that. So thanks, PJ. I just want to say to the fans, every podcast that we do is bringing us another week closer to the start of our season. And we've got our schedule. We've announced, our mini cup series. We've now announced our King of the Baggers series, which is going from a one race invitational to a 5-race kind of open series where other riders can get involved, and maybe PJ will jump on a bagger and maybe do that at one of the rounds. We'll see. Just throwing it out there for you, PJ. But what I want to do is make sure that the fans know to go on our website, MotoAmerica.com. We're always putting stories up there and there's a lot of information about our riders, but also you can go to our schedule and there are links to click on to purchase your tickets for the upcoming season. Some of them are already available to purchase and, you can see which races you want to go to, whether they're ones that are in your geographical region or ones where you'd like to take a trip somewhere and include a MotoAmerica race weekend in that as well. That's always a fun idea to do, but we'd love to see you out there. And when you're there at the track, absolutely come and say hi to Paul and I. We have that happen sometimes. And we always enjoy when people say, especially if somebody hears my voice, they tend to instantly know who they're talking to. But I know they do that with Paul too, with knowing him well. So we love to hear from the fans from that point of view and love to see you guys at the track. So hopefully we'll see lots of great fans this season, like a little different than this past year. So again, thanks so much, PJ, and thanks, Paul.
All right, you guys have a good day.
Thank you. You too.